Now, let me talk to you about Adventist World Radio. That's why I'm supposed to be here. And I'm excited about this. Can you imagine what 50 Sunday pastors are now studying to be Seventh-day Adventists? Can you imagine the effect this will have on churches? Now, I don't want you to go home and say, Al said this happened all over the world. This only happened one place, Cambodia. We had a pastor, I'll tell you how this happened. We had a pastor in California. He was from Cambodia, and he became baptized, and he was preaching in a church in California. There was a pastor in Cambodia that had been listening to Adventist World Radio for a whole year, and he followed all the doctrines, and he was baptized. Now listen to this carefully. One man went all through Cambodia trying to get other people to listen to Adventist World Radio, especially Sunday pastors. And he got such a gathering that he sent word to the pastor in California to please come out and hold a 3-day Bible conference. Now, some of you may be wondering how this pastor in California could be broadcasting Adventist World Radio, because it takes giant transmitters. Out in Guam, we just upgraded all of our transmitters. I've been out there twice. We got 5 transmitters, and we're leasing 10 others. How did some little pastor in California talk to Cambodia? Here's how it happened. Our engineers have developed a system to compress the audio so it can go on the internet. Then they decompress it on the other end, and we're getting better quality than we had when we used to use the old-fashioned tapes that would get confiscated and sometimes never get there. The border guards must be chewing 10-penny nails, because the message goes right over their heads now, and there's no way for them to stop it. So this is how these 50 Sunday pastors started hearing about Adventist World Radio. So he accepted, the pastor in California accepted the challenge to come out and hold a 3-day Bible conference. At the end of the conference, he could see there was quite an interest. So he made an altar call. He said, anyone that wants to follow Jesus all the way, please raise your hands. It looked like every hand went up. Then he made another call. He said, anyone that wants to join the Seventh-day Adventist Church, please stand to your feet. And they all stood to their feet. Now this church, or it wasn't a church, it's a building that they rented. They got the largest building they had in Cambodia, but it only seated 250 people. And people were standing up in the back. And he had an interest there. All of these were non-Adventists. This one pastor went in there and told them about this pastor coming to hold a Bible conference. That's how they found out about it. Now, he made one more call. He said, anybody that wants to follow Jesus all the way, please come forward. 22 Sunday pastors quickly got up out of their feet and came forward. That was exciting enough. But in the back, the sound system wasn't reaching all those people very good, And when they saw those 50 Sunday pastors come up, they came. A total of over 52 pastors, Sunday pastors, came forward, and they're studying right now. This story is brand new. It hasn't been published yet. And they're studying. If you want something to pray about these 50 Sunday pastors in Cambodia that are studying to be Adventist. I can't hardly wait for this development. Please pray for it. I wish somebody had stopped the clock, but I promise not to go over 40 minutes, so I'll keep you about another 7 or 8 minutes. You ready for some excitement? With Adventist World Radio, the excitement gets better every day. That's why I've stayed with them for 25 years. I had one president say, Al, of all the missionary work we've done, Adventist World Radio is bringing in more souls than anything we've done. Listen to this story. It's pretty exciting. You ready to hang on with both hands? The whole Southern Baptist system in Hanoi have joined us now. Did you hear what I said? The whole Southern Baptist system in Hanoi, North Vietnam, have joined us now. And then we went into further investigation, and we found out there was over 3,000 Missionary Alliance members that have joined the Seventh-day Adventist Church. If this doesn't tell you about Jesus coming soon, I guess you can't be convinced. I'm excited. I think I got time to tell you some real excitement. Listen to this story. We were broadcasting in an area where there was lots of Muslims. I've had people ask me, are you reaching Muslims? Listen to this story. We couldn't get into that country because they killed Christians. There was no minister there. We had no medical work going on. And yet we started hearing rumors that people were keeping the Sabbath. We had all we could take. We sent 2 men in to get the information. One man went in. The other one didn't make it. But the one that went in went to the chief of one of the villages. And he said, I understand some of you are keeping the Sabbath. No, he said, that isn't right. Well, tell me what is right. What's going on? He said, we're all keeping the Sabbath. Oh, come on now. What do you mean you're all keeping the Sabbath? What happened? Well, he said, one day there was 2 tall men that came into our compound and they handed me a shortwave radio. And they showed me where to tune in Adventist World Radio and the time and the frequency and the language. Well, he said, I thought that was pretty nice. He said, I reached up to get the radio and thank them, and the minute I took it, they disappeared. So he said, we knew that was 2 angels that had come into our compound. And we got to thinking about it. If the God of the universe thought that much of us to send angels, we better start listening to what's going on. So they started listening to Adventist World Radio. And when they found out about the Sabbath, that's why they are all keeping the Sabbath. And they learned about when you die, you don't go to heaven. You wait for Jesus to come. These Muslims are starting to sign that. Now, we've had recently 20 additional experiences like that in countries that the General Conference said, Al, if you tell the story, don't tell what country it's from because of persecution. But this is going on currently, right now. I even had 2 angels come up to me, and I didn't know they were angels. And here's how that happened. I was on my way to church, and I was so tired. I hadn't had good preparation. I try to always memorize my sermons, and I wasn't ready. And so I pulled off alongside the road before I got to church. And I said, Lord, you know I need help. I need special help today. If it's all right with you, send the angel Gabriel. And the minute I got that out of my mind, I thought, oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I finished my prayer and I went on to church. When I had the benediction, everybody was out of the church, I thought. But 2 people appeared, a man and his woman, and they come up to me and shook my hand, and they said, do you know what happened this morning? I said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. They said, the minute you stood up to preach, a bright light was over your right shoulder, and it stayed there all the time you were speaking. Evidently, God wanted me to know. Oh, and they went on to say that's only happened one other time. Now, I should have caught on. How would any human being know that this only happened at one time? Because I hadn't even told them I'd asked for the angel Gabriel. But he said, when you stood up, there was a bright light over your right shoulder. I was paralyzed. I wanted to ask questions. My mouth wouldn't even open. They filed out of the church, and I quickly went out right after them to talk to them, and they disappeared. So I knew that it was 2 angels. Let me tell you another angel story, a personal story. And then you can see why I continue to work for God. I was in a church not too long ago preaching this sermon that I'm preaching today. And when I made the prayer like I made today, I asked for the Holy Spirit. How many of you have ever prayed and wondered if your prayers are answered? I'll never, ever question God again. I got through. Everyone had passed out. I stood over by my AWR display table like I have here, and a man came up to me and he said, wow. He said, you must be powerful. I said, what do you mean? He said, right after you had the prayer to pray for the power of the Holy Spirit, a light filled your whole upper half of your body, and it stayed there all the time you were speaking. There was a lady standing there. I said, did you see that? And she said, no. Evidently, God only had that one person to tell me, to let me know it was all right to ask for the angel Gabriel. And I've done it more than once since then. I'll keep him busy. One other experience, and then I promise to quit. But I'm just telling you this so you can see how prayers are answered and why I'm still working with Adventist World Radio. Since my wife passed away, I'm courting a lady, and she's 91 years of age, and I decided to take her to Canada, Victoria, Canada. So we went up to Seattle, and I knew this, she didn't like boats, but I was going to take a ship to Canada. I've been, down to Seattle Harbor, and I've seen those big ships. But when we got there, all they had, it looked like an oversized rowboat. And we got on there, and the captain said, Take these seasick pills. There's a heavy wind going on, and out in the Straits of Juan de Fuca, we're going to really go through a terrible time, a terrible storm. I prayed to myself, Jesus, I remember how you calmed the waters once before. Please, please calm these waters this morning, and thank you for what you're doing. We got out in the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and that water was just smooth, like it was a looking glass. There was no wind. The Lord had smoothed those waters down. The crew of the ship, they said they'd never seen anything like that before. I knew God had answered my prayer. I will keep working for Adventist World Radio as long as he gives me the strength. I don't have any aches or pains, and I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you how it is and how he's allowing me to do this. I still drive my car at night, and I don't have any trouble. As long as he gives me this kind of strength, I'll keep preaching until Jesus comes. So don't ask me when I'm going to retire. You ask Jesus. Let's get ready to go home with Jesus. I have one more encouragement to talk to you about, just briefly. Many of you, and if I asked for a raise of hands, I'm sure there'd be a sea of hands that would go up, that you've had loved ones that was once in the church, and now they're no longer with us. As I was preparing this sermon, I ran onto the statement that as the persecution starts to get heavy, many of those people that are no longer with us will come back in. Now that's a good promise. Let's keep praying. And have you ever thought about praying for angels that'll help your loved ones see? You pray for angels. You know, we as human beings can fumble and not have success. But have you ever thought of asking for divine help, that angels will work with your loved ones, that they'll give you your loved ones back? As we close this morning, I hope somebody will come up and help direct the music. I want you to look at number 212. 'Tis almost time for the Lord to come. And being it's late, let's just sing the first stanza of number 212. Let's stand.